Hi everyone, I'm Mary Schumann. I'm a realtor here in the Twin Cities, and I help a lot of people that relocate to Minnesota from out of state. In the process, I hear a lot of the same questions, and I help people navigate a lot of the same hurdles as they try to decide where they want to live here. It occurred to me that people thinking about making this move may actually want to hear about the experience directly from the horse's mouth. And so, with that in mind, I am hoping that this will be the very first video in a series of me talking to clients that have decided to make this leap from various parts of the United States and actually various parts of the world. And they're all making this decision for different reasons and in different circumstances and are willing to share that with you. So if you have questions at the end of this video and you think I missed something, please drop it down in the comments below, or if you want, you can contact me directly. My information is in the description box down below this video. If you're like everyone else and you're watching it on your cell phone, you'll just need to tap the title of the video and the description box will pop right open for you. So forgive me for the quality of the set because we were working from a room in the library and lighting and background weren't perfect, but I think you're going to have really good information coming from my previous client, Topher.
I've been here since May, so I've
long?
seen the end of
July,
May.
But that was when you closed.
That was when I closed on the house. Was in July, but I got into town on like May 28th.
Yeah, right.
So I got to see some nice hot days, which was real nice.
I remember you asking me. This made me laugh a little bit. Now it'll probably make you laugh because you're a Minnesotan. You said you were worried about moving in when, like, we had July as the date. And at one point we were looking at one house that was like August, and you were like, well, when does it get cold?
Right. When does it start to get cold? Yeah.
And it's like, so when does it start to get cold, Topher?
And now it's started to get cold in, late October-ish.
But that's
that's not super cold. That's just, it's cold for me from the south.
That's what I was going to say. So tell the fine people where you came here from.
I moved here from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas.
Okay. So when you told me about the cold weather so far.
I'm really enjoying it, honestly.
You are?
I am.
Okay.
In fact, and this is it's going to sound very strange, but I'm like, it's not cold enough. Like, there's not enough snow. We had a pretty good snow that
was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago that.
But you were on the wrong side of the city because now you moved to the north side of the city.
Right.
And I live in the south side of the city, and we got over a foot of snow.
You guys got dumped on for sure. We got, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches maybe, and I still had to shovel. Like I had the 5 or 10 minutes that I took to shovel the drive and a walkway for this person I had coming over. I was huffing and puffing. This is a workout. I was like, holy cow. I mean, it's good. I need it because, with the pandemic, I've put on a couple extra pounds.
Everybody
has.
We're calling it the COVID 30.
Right.
It's not the COVID 19.
Right.
Question number one for Bachelor number one. What made you move here? Like, what made you pick Minnesota? Texas to Minnesota is a leap.
And I always wanted like snow for the winter. In Los Alamos, where I grew up in New Mexico, we used to get snow for the winter. And so the short answer is, one of the things I really wanted was I wanted a place where we had 4 actual seasons. Winter where it snowed, and a fall where the colors changed, and a good spring and summer. Minnesota fit the bill for those. It checked all those boxes.
All right. So you mostly wanted seasons.
Yeah.
Is that your main reason?
Main reason, well, seasons and the outdoor activity. There's a lot of outdoor activities here in Minnesota. The green spaces here are fantastic. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how good the green spaces are here. Like in the city, there's parks, which is, they've got trees and trails, and if you get in front of, you'll forget you're in the middle of a city. Yeah. It's fantastic. And
high priority on that.
I really like that, and I mean, I wasn't acutely aware of that before I moved here, but it's just like a pleasant bonus that when I got here, that there's that sort of thing is close by.
So what about, like, that reminds me, because you did come and visit one time.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first time being in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you were here, you did spend time, like, I think you went to, did you do Elm Creek Park?
I did Elm Creek Park, which I've been back to since, and it's
that's close
still
by
great.
where you live now, right?
It's still pretty good, relatively close, yeah. And it's still a fantastic dog park. It's just, it's interesting because when in Texas, when we say dog park, it's like a field, maybe, it's not a very big field, and maybe there's a couple of trees planted here and there and some benches, and it's all one big area. There's no trails, there's no, and there are a couple of parks up here that I found that are sort of like that, but there's more of them have, you know, natural water features like ponds, or there's one by the Mississippi River.
Yes, I go to that one.
The Minnehaha Dog Park
that's a great
is
one.
Fantastic.
It's huge.
It's humongous, and
so many dogs.
Yeah, so many dogs, and I love that it's a place where you can have your dog off leash and that sort of thing. I've really enjoyed it up here so far. I've been trying to kind of embrace learn new things about the Midwest and that sort of thing, and it's been fun.
So Topher's a backpacker too.
Yes.
So this is a good. Hopefully, sometime this year, Topher, you'll get up to
I hope so.
Up north and go up there and play around. What did you find to be the most difficult thing about moving here?
The most difficult thing about moving here was getting all my stuff here. And some of this is going to be because it was during pandemic time, and a lot of people were moving around. I moved myself with Uhaul. They have I'm trying to remember what they call their service. It's basically like Pods, which is like a brand name of Pods, but it was Uhaul's version of that. And it was easy enough to set up, kinda. There were snags with it, with getting things loaded. There were, and then when I got here, my things got screwed up for me. And it took me a while to get my things. And then it was just a complete disaster. Now that might be just the experience that I had with that, but that was a hard part for me.
So that's like the actual physical move of it was hard for you. What about, did you find it hard to find a community that you wanted to live in? We talked about this a little bit, but not a lot, because everybody that looks, they're looking for a particular reason. Like somebody wants a certain kind of house, or they have a certain budget, or they have a certain area that they need to be in for work.
Sure.
And you didn't have to be anywhere for work.
Right, I work 100% from home, which is nice. I was looking for a single family home. I didn't want to share walls with anybody. That's part of the joy of owning a home as far as I'm concerned. I didn't want to share walls. I needed a bit of a backyard. Didn't need to be huge, but couldn't be a postage stamp either.
You do have kind of a big yard though.
Yeah, it's not bad yet. It's not bad. It's smaller. I drove around the neighborhoods a lot. I mean, even without you, like when I was looking for potential homes that showed up on my MLS searches, I would go and look at the neighborhood, do a couple of drive-bys of the house, see what was around, and if the neighborhood really seemed to click with me, if I liked it.
To me, that's like super important, is for you to get the context of where, what the neighborhoods look like, because I can only tell people so much, right? Like, even if I did a video on your city, I'm not going to cover everything.
Right.
You know way more about it now than I do. Yeah,
well, and you're going to cover the stuff like where's the nearest shopping and where's whatever. Whereas I'm concerned with like what's the few blocks around the house that I'm looking at. Do people seem to take care of their yards?
Right.
Do the houses all seem run down? I'm worried about like what my property value might look like, or that sort of thing. Because I was specifically looking for houses that were not part of an HOA. So there's no enforcing body like making people keep their lawns nice and not paint their house hot pink or whatever it happens to be. Which,
so that means you
not
have to
sure
trust
I'd care
your neighbors not to...
Right.
This is something that a lot of people that are moving here, and I know I had this perception. I thought, who moves to Minnesota? And I didn't think it would be hard to find a house here, and I didn't think it would be expensive. And I was wrong. on all counts. And I bought my house 6 years ago, way before it got to be as crazy as it is now. So how many homes did we put offers on? I don't think it was that many, but
I think 2.
Just so your story is, there's a couple people that I've helped that have had interesting kind of things, somewhat interesting. I don't know how interesting it is, but we put an offer on your house and they picked somebody else.
Yeah, I was not the first chosen.
And then it fell apart.
Yeah.
And you were the backup.
The other people, I don't know if they just decided I was the backup offer, and they called, and I was like, okay, let's do that then.
And that was awesome because I think you got a pretty good chunk less than what you had originally offered.
No,
they didn't like your gonna delay.
Oh, because they wanted us to wait for so long.
It was their date
until they found a house to close. Yep. Right. I wanted to close quickly, and they needed to wait until they found a house. And they didn't want to close until after they'd found something.
And they were worried that they wouldn't find something because everybody's in the same boat.
Right. So I think we did end up changing at the when they came back to my offer, we changed the closing terms to be like, well, we'll give you
a
certain amount of time, and if you haven't found anything in a certain amount of time, then I was going to be allowed to back out of it.
Back out if you wanted to, or extend.
Extend.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was so. I'm glad we're talking about this because. This is something that I think everybody runs into, like where they're like, so you didn't have a home.
Right.
And you needed a place to stay. And the seller is in control of everything because this is such a seller's market. Yeah. And they could tell you, well, too bad, you're going to have to stay in your temporary housing for 2 more weeks or whatever. So what did you do for temporary housing?
I stayed in, I had this bright idea that I was going to stay in Airbnbs until I found something. That didn't work out. I stayed in one Airbnb for 2 weeks, or maybe it was a couple of weeks.
It was a couple of weeks, right.
And it was difficult to find an Airbnb that was cheap enough. And so I ended up staying at what was the brand name of the place? Was it, Marriott, a Marriott Suites.
Marriott? Yeah.
And it was a long-term stay place. So it had a little kitchenette and a little office and a bedroom all in one room. It was great. It worked out
and you had your
perfectly.
dogs there.
And they were dog friendly, so I had my dogs.
At the time, 2 dogs, not
2 dogs at the time,
5.
right? Exactly.
His family has expanded greatly in the last couple months.
and it was fantastic. It worked out for me. It also helped that I wasn't having to pay a mortgage. And I had all of the surplus from selling my old house.
Right.
And
so you didn't feel uncomfortable and worried
right.
about that money.
I wasn't particularly worried about the money. I think it was. I think I ended up paying a couple $1,000s, maybe.
And that was over the course of a couple months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's the other thing then. I think so what you did was you sold your house. And then came up and did the short-term thing.
Yeah.
Versus trying to sell your house, be in Texas, 1 foot in Texas and 1 foot in Minnesota at the same time.
Right.
Any regrets about that at all, or?
No. I think it would have been, and maybe this is just me, and somebody else's, mileage may vary, but it would have been logistically more difficult for me, I think, if I'd had to try and maintain a house in Texas and try and buy a house, maybe sight unseen in Minneapolis, or maybe only through video.
Or even come here and look for a house, but have your house for sale back there.
Right, you know or do it like I'm gonna take 2 weeks and go look, and if I don't find anything, I have to come back. And I wanted that clean break for me. I knew this is where I wanted to be. So I wasn't gonna.
Well, and that's the other thing for you and for anybody that's buying is that a home sale contingency is just really difficult to convince sellers to accept that. So you did yourself a favor that way.
Sort of. I mean, the only thing I wish had gone differently is nobody's fault and nobody can do it. It would have been nice if it wasn't such a seller's market. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more product on the market to search through.
Yeah.
The house I have is an older house built in 1956. Now my perspective is I'm coming from the house I had in Texas was built in 2007.
So I'm really glad you're saying that too, because let's talk about that. Because like I said, a lot of people that I help are coming from Texas, and they're coming from new builds.
Yeah.
So it is shocking when they get here and they realize, oh, my selection, if I want to be anywhere near the city or like civilization, is going to be 1900 all the way out to like, I mean, if you're in the far suburbs, you could have a new build, but you'd be like 30 minutes out.
Yeah.
Did you live more than 30 minutes out from Dallas or Fort Worth?
Yeah, I did.
So that's probably the same situation there. And I think a lot of people probably who are coming live in suburbs.
Right, and a lot of the suburbs in Texas are all very similar. Now, you might find older houses that were built in the 70s, 80s, or older, but
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, all that stuff in the close end.
I imagine new development up here is going to be different, but if you're getting an older house, walk-in closets weren't a thing.
Nope. Nor were ensuite bathrooms for like master.
Exactly. I'm pleasantly surprised in that I found so much to do around here. Finding places to go and hang out and stuff to do, there's no shortage of things to do. Which has been really nice, places to go and stuff, so.
Thank you so much, Topher.
Anytime, thanks.